G'day team, welcome to the first ever episode of the ruggerzheadz podcast, where my plan is to do a weekly chat about the greatest sports on the planet. We'll give you all the results and a few talking points, but there's not been any sport on, so it's made it really difficult at present, but there's still plenty going on and we're getting closer and closer to sports, so let's have a good go. We haven't got much sport to talk about, but there's a few things going on in the space of rugby, with Super Rugby in particular. I don't suspect we'll see any rugby until the first week of June at the earliest in New Zealand. We're still in level 3 restrictions for a couple more weeks. The government sort of said that when we get to level 2, we might be able to play, sport might be able to be played, won't be any crowds or anything, but that won't be happening until early June at the earliest. And coaches and players and things need to get ready. The coaches have come out and sort of said they need 3 weeks to get ready, so we'll have to wait and see. The latest news to come out of New Zealand Rugby came out yesterday, and a review panel has been put together consisting of the chair from each Super Rugby franchise and also representation from New Zealand Rugby to analyse Super Rugby in this country. They'll be taking into account everything. By the sounds of things, the Super Rugby licences were all up for renewal this year, so a review was going to take place. But with COVID-19 and the effects of COVID-19 currently on sport, it's just given them another reason to get this review going. The review is called Aratipu, and the review has to be done. They'll have to consider the previous 25 years in the competition, but everything will be reviewed. I would suggest that if South Africa and Argentina are still involved going forward, it won't be this year. And then maybe they rejoin next year, but there were whispers coming out of South Africa that they may pull out of Super Rugby altogether and join in the Europe competition. They denied it at the time, but normally in these sorts of scenarios where there's smoke, there's fire. So we'll have to wait and see. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see South Africa in Super Rugby again. The part of the review, though, that interested me most was that the preliminary report or findings from the review, it's not due till end of June, and then the finalised findings won't be released till later this year. So what does that mean? Do we have to wait until then before any rugby's played? I'm not sure how that'll work. We haven't been told that at all. New Zealand Rugby currently have a 5-year broadcast agreement with Sky Sports, so they need to make something work. The most likely scenario will be that there'll be a Trans-Tasman competition. There's been a lot of talk coming out of Australia for that too, and there has also been talk about New Zealand and Australia opening their borders between each other for travel and holidays. And we might see a Trans-Tasman competition, and that would consist of the 4 current Super Rugby teams in Australia, and then Western Force are likely to jump in on that. That would make a 10-team competition, which would be half decent. But to be honest, though, I wouldn't mind an extended Mitre 10 Cup competition, and a competition that would include the All Blacks. That's probably what most Kiwis want to see. And Mitre 10's not due to start until that first week of August, so they could bring it a month forward and then make a really solid rugby competition. I mean, most people in this country want to see the derbies anyway. We'd be having one every week, and I'd argue that the TV ratings would be better, which is likely to drive the decision in terms of what sort of rugby we do get to see, when we get to see it. And so that's all speculation, but so who knows what sort of rugby we're going to get? That's the biggest question. When is also a question, but that's a little bit easier to work out. We just want to know, what it's going to look like and when we can actually watch some code. In terms of what we do know, the Crusaders, Chiefs and Blues have started to cut staff to slow down the financial pain. This is after New Zealand Rugby have given each franchise $250,000 as an emergency fund to help with the sport stopping. And then the franchises have also applied for government support. Highlanders and Hurricanes have said that they have not yet started to lay off staff, but it sounds like across the board staff are taking pay cuts, and there'll be more details to follow about what that will look like for the players, but they'll be taking cuts too, and they've sort of accepted the fact. So there's a lot going on in Rugby Australia as well. I was going to try and do some research about it, but can't be bothered. Basically, Raylene Castle, she's resigned. There was a crazy amount of pressure on her to do so she was all but pushed. You know how it works with these political types of things. They give these top people the opportunity to resign just to save face rather than saying that they got sacked. But yeah, a lot of pressure from all angles, including a group of 10 or 11 ex-Wallaby captains all signing a petition or something. And Australian rugby's always been a bit of an old boys club, dominated by New South Welshmen, and it starts to look a little dodgy to me when one of the people that are the most vocal about trying to get rid of Raylene is someone that missed out on the top job to Raylene, and that's Phil Kearns, and he epitomises that old boys, New South Wales old boys club. Anyway, I think Raylene Castle, she's much better off gone from that place. And honestly, I don't know why any New Zealander would want to get involved in rugby in Australia. It's career suicide, and all I can say is good luck, Dave Rennie, who, by the way, mainly took the job because of Raylene Castle. So if there's a way out now for Dave, because of Raylene's leaving, he should take it. Get out of there. That covers rugby pretty much. Not much to talk about there. We'll see how the next week progresses, and hopefully we hear a little bit more about what New Zealand want to do in terms of playing some rugby again. In the NRL, they again having some issues with players, as if they didn't have enough to worry about. Latrell Mitchell, Josh Adokar, and Tyrone Roberts-Davis and Nathan Cleary have all breached isolation protocols. Mitchell and Adokar have been fined $50,000 each, and Roberts-Davis and Cleary $10,000 each. And they all face a one-match ban when the competition starts back up again. Mitchell and Adokar went on a planned hunting and camping trip with a group of people, so that's why they suffered the bigger punishment, I'd suggest, and Cleary was pictured at home with a group of young women, which was unplanned, but lucky at the same time, and not sure what Roberts-Davis' story is. The punishment handed down by the NRL is not the only punishment that they'll face. They'll also have to deal with, legal ramifications. Anyway, the big news of the day is that the NRL have just announced that we will have a 20-round competition this year. We knew that this date was going to be the 28th of May, but now we know that the results of the first two rounds will stand. Therefore, the current points ladder will remain. The grand final is going to be played on October 25. Teams will have to play 5 teams twice. The Warriors fly to Australia this Sunday and go into quarantine for 14 days. In terms of the draw and what teams are playing each other twice, we don't know. That's still going to be confirmed over the next couple of weeks. State of origin hasn't been confirmed, but the most likely scenario is we will see that it's played over 3 weeks in November, which hasn't happened in 40 years. Cricket, there's not really much to talk about. Thankfully, from our point of view, we're in the off season. I know that we probably would have toured somewhere, but anyway, there's not much talk about it other than when they do start up again, what they're going to do with the ball, because so many people, all the players touch the ball. There's saliva Anyway, that part gets a little bit messy. Anyway, to finish up, There's no real actual sport to talk about, unfortunately. So the plan is that I'll post a weekly sport chat with updates as we move towards sport starting up again, which in terms of rugby league is only a month away. And lastly, I just want to make mention of radio sport in New Zealand. I'm just going to read this as I don't want to screw it up, but it's well worth mentioning. And radio sport's been a constant in this country for 22 years in terms of sports coverage and broadcasting. Where there was sport, there was radio sport. Super gutted that it has, as of yesterday, made its last and final broadcast as we know it under the NZME brand or banner. The events covered and the personalities involved in history of sport in New Zealand would not have been the same. And looking forward, all I can say is that the effects of the current global pandemic will have significant impact on this world permanently. And we're starting to see that already, from a sports point of view in this country. Radio sport is the start. How's it going to look? I mean, we could be seeing more podcasts and YouTube channels and these sorts of things. Comments, radio commentary, how are we going to be able to listen to it? And, the big question is, how is sport going to look? That's really the biggest question. Broadcasting's taken a massive hit. We'll sort of have to see how Sky Sport can cope with what's happening, what happens with rugby, and certainly in this country, that's the main one. And, and what Super Rugby is going to look like after this year anyway, with potentially South Africa and Argentina dropping out. So to the radio sport crew, all the best, guys. There's going to be opportunities, and really hope that you can all bounce back, and looking forward to hearing from you all in future. All the best. I'll see you all next week. It should just about cover it.